What's up again there, guys? Brian here, D3 Topics Gamer, here to share with you another one of my awesome worst to best tier list of videos to share with you guys today. Now, recently I actually uploaded a top 5 favorite Dragon Ball Z video games of all time, and since we've already talked about the characters, we've already talked about the games, I only figured it would be a great idea to talk about the movies, and there have been a lot of Dragon Ball Z, and even Dragon Ball Super movies, so that's what we're going to do here today. So if you enjoyed this list by the end, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Keep tracking me on my future videos. And remember, if any of you guys have any ideas for future videos, whether it be tier list, ranking, reviews, or just discussion videos in general, please let me know what you would like to see, and I will try to get it up as soon as I can. Now, I actually had a hard time finding like a really good list, and I think if you look at my list starting now, there's actually a good amount of movies, and I actually had to make a list of exactly in what order they were, because some of them didn't actually say, so I actually had to do a little bit of research and get them in order. Now, in terms of my rating, I just have them in 4 different categories, from the ones I loved, the ones I liked, the ones I think are average, the ones that I don't think are all that great, but just have like a few cool moments in there. And then I decided just to pair the forgettable ones and ones that I didn't watch. Now, the ones that I didn't watch were simply the pure Dragon Ball movies. I openly admit that I actually have not watched a lot of Dragon Ball. I started watching Dragon Ball Z, and I saw GT and then Super, but I never really felt the need to actually go back and watch Super unless some people recommend that I go back and do it, but that's just how I do it. So I'm just going to go from left to right and just place them where I think they should go. So the first movie we have on the list is going to have to go to Dragon Ball Super Broly. This is a movie I love. They did a much better job at giving Broly some depth than the classic interpretation of Broly that we'd had that had like 3 movies of his own. And he was just like this big, powerful, just buff guy that just liked to blow things up and kill people. I liked how they gave him depth. This was the official canon appearance of Gogeta. It was just a very interesting story. I think it worked. It was fun. I liked how they kind of incorporated Broly into the manga's telling of Super, or the extended story that takes place after the Tournament of Power. And I saw this in theaters, so it was a fun time. Visually, it has probably some of the most visually impressive looking fights that you will see. It's nice to see that Goku gets to fight Broly, Vegeta gets to fight Broly, even Frieza for a little bit gets to fight Broly, and then you get to see Gogeta take him on. So yeah, overall, Dragon Ball Super Broly, awesome film, and I absolutely love it. The next one is going to have to go to Dragon Ball Z Dead Zone. I like this movie. It is interesting to kind of see Piccolo and Goku kind of team up before they were allies. So apparently this happens before the events of Dragon Ball Z. So this is before Raditz shows up. It's always interesting how they're able to kind of squeeze in these events in between more significant events. It's always interesting to me. But this one was fine. I thought Garlic Jr. was an okay villain. It was also pretty interesting to see Kami fight. I think this is the only time we ever see Kami actually engage someone. Krillin's in here. He's kind of useful. There's some pretty funny moments. There's like one big moment in the abridged version that I think is just absolutely hilarious, and some people have seen know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think that Loric Slug is pretty good. I mean, not Loric Slug, Dead Zone. Loric Slug is what comes next. I think Loric Slug is also kind of alike. I don't like it as much as Dead Zone, and it kind of goes to the same sort of formulaic department of you have this random villain come out of nowhere that causes a lot of trouble. Some of Goku's allies try to help. They're not that useful. And then Goku at the end, like after getting beat up, just kind of overpowers them. But it is a little bit different because he needs to work with Piccolo and Gohan in order to take out the main antagonist. So there is a little bit more to the primary villain's final defeat than just Gohan getting this massive power-up. Strangely enough, there was also a weird sort of power-up that I'm not sure if it's ever been given a name, where it's kind of like Super Saiyan, but like Goku's hair doesn't go gold, and they never gave that an official name, so I always thought that was weird, but I do think that was very memorable. But again, I did like this movie. Next, we have Dragon Ball Super Android 13. This one was just kind of average. I mean, it kind of fits in the same department of like Lord Slug, but this one is a lot more formulaic in the sense that you have a new group of androids that were made by Dr. Gero, And Trunks shows up, and Vegeta shows up, and Piccolo shows up, and Gohan's there, and Goku's there, and they fight off the androids. Spoiler alert, they beat like the small group of androids, and they mix into one big android, and he starts kicking everyone's ass, and then Goku gets like takes everyone's energy, and then just takes the thing out with one blast. And like, that is kind of boring. I mean, it is nice seeing like the rest of the gang get to do something, and that's always nice to see. But just to have Goku always having to save the day does get kind of boring. And given the order in which this movie actually came out in the order of Dragon Ball Z movies, that formulaic and that type of ending very much was getting real old by this point, which is why that's where I would put Super Android 13 in the average department. The next one is a weird one, and that is Dragon Ball Z Broly's Second Coming. This one's weird. I gotta put it in a few, you know what, maybe, I'm tempted to put like, it has like a few moments, but I'll put it at like below average. Now, the interesting thing about this one is that it's actually not focused on any of the main primary characters. It actually focuses on Goten and Trunks and Krillin. And they find this like bio version of Broly. It's like a clone of Broly, but it's kind of mutated, and they actually managed to take it out. It's a weird kind of movie. Wait, that... Yes. No, I'm wrong. That's not. I'm getting it mixed up. That's not. My mistake. I'm not going to redo this. This is not bio. This is actually Second Coming. Okay, this one I like. I'm getting them mixed up. Okay, so this one takes place after the first Broly movie, but this one probably focuses on Gohan taking on Broly, which I think is a much more interesting fight than the first fight. I do think it's interesting to see Gohan actually do something. Goten tries to help, and then Trunks is there, and they're trying to gather the Dragon Balls to do something. Vidal's there for a little bit and does some stuff. But I do think that the best thing about this movie is it has the father-son Kamehameha, which even to this day is one of the most iconic moments. And they would kind of redo that again in Super for Vegeta and Trunks, which, you know, anyone who saw that could link it to this moment in this movie, and I thought that was great. So to see Gohan kind of take the lead here was a breath of fresh air. I definitely think that out of the primary main three Broly movies, this one is the best one. So yeah, I would definitely put that in, like, you know what, on top of that, I would actually put it as a high like. I really like, this is definitely my favorite of the primary Broly trilogy. Now that is followed up by my least favorite entry, which is Bio Broly. Now this one is primarily led by Trunks and Goten and Krillin, and they take on this kind of mutated clone version of Broly, and it's just weird. It's weird. I mean, they get the job done, but at this point, Broly as a character had kind of lost all credibility as a main threat. He got his ass kicked twice, so a clone of Broly was never going to be all that great. So I'll just put it on average. You know, I'll even put it lower. I think I'll just put it at like it has a few moments. The next one we have is Dragon Ball Z Fusion Reborn. This one I like. I would put it above Dead Zone. Yeah, I really like this one. This one is kind of takes place in like the afterlife period. I do believe Goku and Vegeta are dead at this point, and this creature named I think it's called Jabimba or something like that. I know I'm getting the name wrong. He kind of like appears, and he's like this massive threat, and then Goku and Vegeta have to actually do the official non-canon appearance of Gogeta. And they managed to take him out, and it's pretty epic. It's a really awesome fight. So, and you actually see Goku go to Super Saiyan 3 for a little bit, and that proves to be not strong enough. So, yeah, I definitely think Fusion Reborn is really, really cool. The next one is one that I'm not really a big fan of, and this one is Dragon Ball Z Wrath of the Dragon. This one is kind of, you know, I'll even go so far as it's forgettable. It's really not. Like, it follows the standard formulaic style of a lot of these Dragon Ball movies. Really, the most important element of this movie, the most significant thing that happens, is it explains how Trunks got his sword. That is about it. Everything else in this movie is very, very irrelevant. Yeah, the other characters get to do a little bit of things, but it's like, it's kind of one note, you know? And because of that, you know, I'll give it a little bit of a bump and say it has like a few moments, because it does have some significance in terms of important elements that maybe we were questioning about certain characters, but it doesn't do too much. So that's where I'll put that one. Next is going to have to go to Dragon Ball Super Battle of Gods. This one, in my opinion, is the best. This is my personal favorite one above Broly. Best one. This is the beginning of the Dragon Ball Super arc. This shows the appearance of Beerus and Whis. It kind of explains pretty much how that whole era starts. The appearance of the Super Saiyan gods. Now, what I absolutely love about this is that there are a number of characters that may not get to do too much outside of Goku, but their presence there is also is appreciated. There's a moment where, you know, Goku tries to take on Beerus for the first time as Super Saiyan 3, and that doesn't really do anything. There's a moment where like Vegeta kind of goes ape shit when Beerus like slaps Bulma. That's a great moment. And to actually have Goku actually get this power up into Super Saiyan God after doing the ritual, and that still not being enough, makes it probably my favorite ending because it doesn't end in a traditional sense. Goku doesn't necessarily have to win in order to get a good conclusion. And at the end, Beerus respects Goku, and that sets the catalyst for Goku and Vegeta and everyone else wanting to get so much stronger. Which is why, in my opinion, Dragon Ball Super is a great series for Dragon Ball. And it's really, I think it was the first time that like everyone worldwide was able to see it kind of all at once. Because when we were watching Dragon Ball Z growing up, I didn't realize that had actually been out in Japan for like many years. So to actually experience it kind of in real time as it was coming up was a fun experience. And I definitely did see this in theaters. It was a fun movie. By far, in my opinion, is the best Dragon Ball movie of all time, which is why it's number 1 on my list. Going next, we have Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, which is the sequel to this one. And this one is also a love. It's probably my least favorite of the primary, like of the new super. No, it's not necessarily my least favorite, but I think out of the ones that primarily focus on like Vegeta and Goku, that's probably my least favorite. Frieza comes back. He's resurrected. He comes to Earth to take his revenge. This is the appearance of the Super Saiyan Blue transformation. I think it's an overall fun movie. There's a number of key moments I really like seeing like Gohan get like totally one shot by Frieza while he's in Super Saiyan 2. I think the thing that it shows for me for the characters is it kind of shows that Goku. It kind of shows his certain characters' flaws, and I think I don't want to spoil exactly what happens, but there's something that happens at the end that sucks, and then Goku kind of blames himself for it, and then he tries to fix his mistake. And it shows a lesson that I don't think he ever fully learns, even after this event. But I just hope that it kind of plays a part in future storytellings, because I don't think it really played too much of a part in the Super storyline. But that's just how I feel about it. But still, I absolutely loved it. Had a great time. And another movie I also saw in theaters. Next, we have Tree of Might. I like Tree of Might. I really like it a lot. Even though it's kind of formulaic, the appearance of Turtles, who is like pretty much almost like a carbon iconic visual copy of Goku, but like an evil Goku. He plants this tree, which like sucks up the essence of Earth, and then when you eat the fruit that grows from this tree, you get like this massive power up. There's a number of fun moments here. I think some of the I think this is probably my favorite set of like almost like side villains that the other groups get to take care of. You get because Tien and Yamcha and Piccolo and Chaozu, they all get to do something, and that's always fun. You don't want to forget the characters that were significant in Dragon Ball and just kind of forget them in Dragon Ball Z. So it's nice to see that they get to do something. And yeah, it is a movie I really do like. So that's why we'll put Tree of Might. But things really get kind of cranked up a little bit in Cooler's Revenge. I like this one, but not as much as Tree of Might. It's a shame that with such a cool character like Cooler, they have not officially introduced him. I'm not sure if they've even maybe they have like kind of semi-acknowledged that he exists in canon, but I think there's so much you could do with Cooler. My biggest problem I have with it is I don't like when Goku takes on the final boss. I don't like how it's so one-sided. Because up until this point, when Cooler and Goku are actually fighting, Goku is fighting his absolute hardest, he's getting beat up, and then when he finally turns to Super Saiyan, like, Cooler is like an absolute joke that he can't even do damage. And I don't like those type of fights. Like, even when Goku gets the power-up, I would like to see somewhat of a fight. And that does not happen, which is like my biggest criticism of Cooler's Revenge. But other than that, it's a fine movie. I like it a lot. I've seen it multiple times, had a great time with it, but that's where I would put it. Next, we have Dragon Ball Z Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan. This was the official appearance of Broly. Big time. Broly had like this infamous reputation back in the day when he was shown up. But if I'm being honest, I would probably put it in average. If I'm being honest, yeah, definitely average. Broly is like a character who, like, visually he is cool, but he has no depth. And his backstory is so boring, and then the conclusion is so boring. Because it's a copy and paste of how so many other Dragon Ball movies actually end. And you would think that they would come up with something a lot more creative to take out the legendary Super Saiyan, and that doesn't happen at all. But, like, yeah, Broly is the equivalent of a lot of flash but no real bang and no depth. So he's kind of like a one-note villain that they could have done so much with him, and that they never do, which is why I would just put that one in average. Next is Dragon Ball Z BoJack Unbound. I gotta be honest, I'm not a fan of this one at all. This is probably the only of the primary Dragon Ball Z movies outside of Broly's Second Coming where the primary lead is on Gohan, and he's the one who takes on the primary threat of the movie. But here's the thing, I've never really been a big fan of Gohan, because it just seems like he's not the right character to put a primary focus to lead the franchise. And that was that was kind of the issue after the Cell Saga, because it was clear that the writers and the creators were pushing Gohan to be the lead character, and maybe there was a sense that Z was going to end after the Cell Saga, but fans weren't having it. It was clear that Gohan just was not the guy, and that was very, very clear. And so maybe this was like their one of the few attempts they tried to push Gohan in that spot. And even though it has like a few cool moments, it's just not that good, and it's very forgettable to me, and it's just something that I haven't really gone back and watched. But, like, I think the only cool thing I can say about this is just, like, the only time we get to see Gohan use Super Saiyan 2 in a cool way while he's wearing his father's gi. And that's about it. That's the best thing that I can think that comes out of this film, which is why it has a few moments, but it's not something that I've ever really gone back and watched too many times. Now, this next movie is something I really, really like. And I'll even go so far as to say it's probably it's my favorite Dragon Ball Z movie of all time. And that has to go to Cooler's Return, or Return of Cooler. We get to go back to Namek, and Cooler now has this new cool metal body. And at this point, the Gohan has pretty much kind of gotten used to this fighting in Super Saiyan. So to see the group go back to Namek, or technically it's New Namek, and fight off these army of robots while the Big Eddie Star is like sucking the life out of New Namek, and you get to see Vegeta and Goku team up to take on Metal Cooler, is so awesome. And unlike other movies, there is actually a fight once they have transformed. It is not so one-sided, and by the end, it is a well-deserved, difficult fight. It is not one-sided, and that is all I ask for my Dragon Ball movies. That the final fight feels like a final fight. So to see Goku and Vegeta team up, take out the final threat, and it feels well-earned, is something I absolutely love, and I don't think any of the other movies do nearly as well. This is easily the best interpretation of Cooler that we have. This is the movie that validates that I think Cooler should absolutely be a canon character and make his appearance somehow. I don't care how you do it, make Cooler canon. He's a really, really cool character. You can do a lot of really cool things with him. Make it happen. But yeah, this is easily the one Dragon Ball Z movie I absolutely love. It is my favorite out of the Dragon Ball Z era, without question. Next, we have Dragon Ball Z, The World's Finest. I gotta admit, I gotta be honest. This is gonna have to go unforgettable. I know I've seen this one. I know the synopsis a little bit, but like it's so one note, and not a lot happens in it that's even interesting. So yeah, it's kind of forgettable to me. And that leads to the rest of these, which are just I didn't watch because these are the Dragon Ball movies. And that leads to the last and latest Dragon Ball movie that we have, and that is Dragon Ball Superhero. This one I like. I really like this movie a lot. Out of all of the movies that try to push Gohan as the primary lead, this one does it the best. I'll even go as far as to say this one movie does more justice and does more for the characters of Gohan and Piccolo than the entire run of the Dragon Ball Super series. Like, we had heard that maybe Gohan or Piccolo through their training was going to get some sort of new transformation. That never actually happened. But that happens in this film. Goku and Vegeta are off training with Whis to kind of get stronger, while Gohan and Piccolo are dealing with this new situation, and this new, more stronger version of Cell comes back, and both Piccolo and Gohan get some really, really badass transformations that they needed during the primary run of Super, that they should have gotten. So this one, in my opinion, does more justice to those characters than a lot of the runs of the show, and it actually makes Gohan's development worthy. He actually makes the proper changes to become that character who needs to take his training seriously. He can't always rely on Daddy or Vegeta to come and save the day. He needs to take that leadership and main spot role. And this is the closest we get to the point where I respect that and can actually see Gohan as a primary lead character. And if you've actually read the mangas, he actually does something really, really significant that pushes him even farther in that department. So this is the best version of grown-up Gohan that we've ever had. And because of that, I really, really like it. Not so much I would say I love it, but it is by far the best of Gohan we've seen in the entire history of this show. Without question. And Piccolo too. So that is going to be my ranking of all the Dragon Ball movies from Z and Super, and maybe like not acknowledging Dragon Ball because I didn't watch those ones. But that's my ranking. If you'd like, you can share your ranking of how you would rank these movies. Make sure you share your list in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you guys next time.